You swore sinew and soul to serve God and the Order of the Templar. For years you built a life upon faith.
I must have time to
Yo, what up? So as you saw, I restarted my league. So I currently only have that's like a random smoke mine meal, and we only have this character now. And the reason I did that, well, I kind of burned myself out a bit, pushing too much and trying to do the Dell stuff, like the Dell race. And then I had like a pretty devastating rip and I lost a lot of progress. And after that, I kept pushing and it's just like, I don't think I have any chance anymore. So that kind of demotivated me on that. So I decided, hell, since I've been enjoying the build I was playing, which is a Guardian, Lowlife Aurastacking Guardian with Spectres. What would this be as like league starter? So we are now like 68. Skill tree looks lumped like that. The planned life tree, oops, is something like this. There's no items or skills or anything like that. I just like literally just did the skill tree. So this is most likely gonna change. For example, I might very well go the lower path to natural authority to get some damage and some damage mitigation from the Enduring Cry, because I am running Enduring Cry on left click to get some charges, and might have noticed I'm actually planning on taking some charges. So this should be decently tanky and allow me to farm to eventually go. Like I could go CI earlier before going low life, but I think I'm just gonna go straight from life version to low life instead. Because that way I can invest more into a proper life build instead of like juggling here with bad life nodes and etc. with like low strength. So this way I can actually get a very good life pool to feel tanky and actually go to red maps, etc. and do like the heists. And eventually farm up Chevron's wrappings from here. I'm not planning to do tower. I'm planning to do it either on Scriptorium and potentially even cells. It could also just be strictly Scriptorium, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll talk about that a tiny bit later. But first I'll introduce you to a very useful recipe if you're planning on ever leveling a summoner as your first character in the league, or just, you know, leveling a summoner in general. So please tell me I have transmute here. Yeah, good. So there is a recipe. I need another transmute too. Wasting all my currency to show you this. So by selling a Bone Spirit Shield, this is a level 15 shield, so when you get to Act 2 town, you're very likely to be able to buy this off the vendor for like a transmute, but you could also put this on your filter. So Bone Spirit Shield, any random flask, doesn't matter if it's like transmuted or not. An Orb of Transmutation gives you a life flask of animation, and then with that flask, alteration, and then a magic helmet. So if this helmet was rare, I would have to scour it down. You can make a +1 minion helmet, like I have here. So basically I just always wait until I have a 4-link helm, then I do this recipe to get a +1 minion helmet, and that's pretty good. And we're still using that, obviously. Eventually I would wanna either just, you know, ID a rare helmet with +2, or just alt out Regal +2. So alt out until +2, then Regal and craft life for resist if you already hit right. Other than that, my gear is absolutely atrocious. Some random gloves, some randomized belt, some boots with some movement speed and crafted life, blue shield. My only, I guess, okay item is this ring, and this isn't exactly the greatest either, but yeah, it has D2 life, some resist, that's about it. Some pretty shitty amulet, not a great thing, but it's an answered ring, so that's nice. The open socket here right now is gonna go to Clarity once I get to recolor that, because I have some leftover mana, and as you can see, I can try and drain my mana pool with just chill charge, because I don't go into Witch to get the life mana hybrid nodes, and I don't have the quick recovery. So I'm gonna run low level Clarity. We're all running Generosity, Hatred, and then some random Wall Haste. That's why I have Sovereignty. You could actually go through this side, and that would give you enough reservation, even without these, once your mana pool is high enough, but I feel like it's 1 point to get 8% reservation instead of 6% effect. I prefer this. And originally, I would recommend, especially if you're playing Trail Leagues, recommend leveling by going through the top side. That gives you the access to Sacrifice. But obviously, we would go up here, you would take Retribution, then go like grab here Spiritual Command Sacrifice, and then rush into Witch for Enduring Bond and Lord of the Dead, and eventually up here for the Spectre node, and then Sovereignty. There's life, there's life, there's life, there's life, there's EE, there's also Indomitable Army, which is really good, and I'm eventually gonna take it soon, I think. But yeah, I think Guardian's actually much better than a Necromancer until Merciless Lab. So Guardian actually gets the first lap on Guardian is absolutely insane. It's 20 all rest for you. It gives permanent onslaught for you and your allies, which includes the minions, as long as there's 5 allies. So we usually have the 5 allies. So we have a permanent onslaught, which is nice. So we don't need to worry about getting something like Ravenous Horde like you need on a Necromancer. And then it also gives you and your allies a nice 10% more damage, which is really good. And then later in Unwavering Crusade, you get Intimidate and Unnerve, which is, in a lot of cases, just a straight up 10% more damage. If you don't have something like Shock. But for example, I am not running a Skitterbot, so I don't have Shock, which would be additive scaling with that. But yeah, and then after that, Merc Lab is kind of up to you. You can take Time of Need if you want. You can take Radiant Faith if you're planning to go CI earlier. You can take Bastion of Hope if you want to get a very reliable stun immune. I like the Time of Need because it allows me to not need as much resist to run Weak maps early, because I reduce the curse effect. It also makes temp chains less of a problem and or annoyance rather if you don't have your flasks up. And then I'll eventually take Bastion of Hope. And then when I go low life like CI, I'll respec out of Bastion and Time of Need into Unwearing Faith. But yeah, the leveling is very smooth. In fact, I'll slap some random boss kills from along the way here. Krypton beat. I can eventually also include Skitterbots, which is nice. Gonna need like a Shaper or Hunter Shield for that first. I think we can get one somewhere at some point. I don't think that's gonna be too hard to obtain. And this is so much lower compared to having the +1 helm with double +1 fire ones. I mean, the kill is still fast. It's not like this is bad or anything. Feels bad, man, not having Skitterbots or +1 or anything. Damage wasn't that bad, though. Ow! I wonder who the fuck he's targeting with that. And sponsor haircut. You don't need to sponsor it. I'm being just lazy to make it, like, do it. I do my own haircut. Saves time and money. I'm just being fucking lazy. So yeah, as you saw, it was pretty smooth. And I actually didn't start using the Spectres until Blood Aqueduct, I think. So I was just like, I had a first 3-link SRS with just SRS minion damage and Infernal Legion. And then when you get a 4-link, you can either do what a lot of Necromancers do, is take Unleash. I like to put Feeding Frenzy on my SRS, because when we're a Guardian and we have the permanent Onslaught, which is 20% cast speed, you could also take these nodes, which are really good. I don't really feel like I need it. And I usually, once I have done Library in Act 3, I'll start running Haste. So I level with Haste and Skitterbots, which you both get after Library. You don't sadly get Skitterbots as a Templar in Act 2, but you will just use like Vitality and Clarity. Vitality is actually insane for leveling. If you level Vitality, it allows you to sustain your SRS with Infernal Legion, and they just don't die. Also, your zombies are so much more tankier, especially if you take the sacrifice early. Like your zombies actually survive on a Guardian, which is pretty great. Or rather a Templar early on, which is really good. And yeah, the reason why I think after Merclap Necro gets better is that the third node for us doesn't really do much for minions. And at that point, Necro, you usually get like +2 from Merclap in a lot of cases. And that's a really good buff for survivability of minions. But yeah, some updates coming up soon. Probably talk a bit more about my Atlas, but the current quick plan is I'm basically going to be targeting 2 different things. One is Bone Crypt, and Bone Crypt because Bone Crypt has this thing called the Craving. So when you kill the map boss, there's a low chance of dropping this divination card, which gives you Unending Hunger, which is basically the best in slot jewel for any Spectre build, because it gives them Soul Leader, which just gives them insane amount of survivability and attack and cast speed. The other thing we are aiming for is I think we need 2 here. It's Acid Caverns, and Acid Caverns is the place where you get the Bariach Ring, which with a white socket gives you 15 item quantity. And it's an unset ring, so it's really nice because it gives, you know, you get an extra socket. You could also get a lot of life from it. So it's just a very strong ring in general. It's also +2 level to whatever you put in there, some attack and cast speed. But basically we're gonna be farming the acid caverns while stockpiling on a lot of bone crypts. I'm actually not gonna be completing many maps from this region, just so that I'm getting like a massive stockpile of bone crypts. And hopefully eventually I have 2 unset ring, 2 paria with white socket. I'll do the white socket with, I think my thing here is reset because I did the restart. No, I'll get Vorici boy here into research and white socket it. And yeah, other stuff that I need. Also, if you're interested in seeing what the somewhat planned character is just look at my profile and, well, there's the character. The class jewels are just simply some medium hourglass jewels where I want different reservation nodes. There isn't like one set up. You can just kind of have the POB around. And then I have a bunch of ES from here because my gear on this character is absolutely dogshit. And as I don't have Presence of Chiola, I got a bit lucky with rolling a Chaos Resist jewel on this character. This is like 59 Chaos Resist from this. So yeah. So the plan is somewhat like this character, where we get a +2 minion helm with a minion damage, and instead of the conk effect, I'd actually awaken orb it with a shaper helm, and that way I can get hypothermia as one of the links. So this would basically be like a 7 link. But yeah, so I guess that's everything I really want to talk about quickly in this video. The next update is probably gonna have a bit more talk about the Atlas, but I guess quickly here I'll just put a few here so you can see. So in here we have a tier 10s. There's 5 tier 10s where two of them are cells and scriptorium. Both of these drop the offering card, which we will farm for a shaft so we can go low life. And if I really wanted to, I could also just not complete these 3 maps. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, really. If I really wanted to minimax, I wouldn't have completed the volcano at all, and had the scriptorium as the only tier 6 map completed in this region. And the way you could do that is to simply map until the Zana gives you a T6 scriptorium, and you like run like T5 or T6 Zana missions, or by buying maps from Zana, you could 3-to-1 tropical islands, for example, and since it's the highest tier map here, like the T4, there's no T5 here, but with 1 watchstones there's obviously T5s, so it could give you any of these maps. And then when I would just 3-to-1 the tropicals until I have 3 of these, like one of them. And because Scriptorium is the only like natural tier 6 map in Glenach Cairns, we could then force a T6 Scriptorium out of the 3-to-1, and then when we complete that without the watchstone, we would get the map without the watchstone, we would actually unlock the watchtower, then we can put a watchstone in, and that then unlocks the T6 Scriptorium as a natural drop. And then we could put a influence here, and then just blast Scriptoriums, and then the free map between after every 3 maps we run would be a Scriptorium. I could still do it with just having the T4 volcano on top, and then it's just like instead of every map guaranteed as a T6 Scriptorium from the free map, it would be like around like 50-50, which is still very high chance. So I could still do that. It wouldn't be big of a deal. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't include. I'm not gonna include any POBs on the stuff because there isn't too much I have planned. It's kind of wing it kind of thing. But once we get to actually flesh out the character a bit, I'll start including like the current character stuff. But basically, if you really want, just look at the tree right now, and the gear is just absolute random stuff. I guess the only notable here is the wand, and the wand was crafted with Essence of Fear. So you just slap random Essence of Fear into the weapons for the minion damage. You'll actually get minion damage. Minion damage craft eventually pretty fast as well, so it doesn't even really matter to use that. But that's a really good early on. So the moment you get an Essence of Fear, you can just straight up slap it into a wand or claw or whatever really to get the extra damage. Yeah, I'll see you guys on the next update. Yeah, almost forgot. So the Spectres that I'm using are Frost Auto Scouts. They are from I wonder if I can actually get you any. Do we have any tunnel? No, we don't. Give me a second. Let's see if we can get. Where's my markers? There. So they are a spellcasters with pure projectiles. They have 2 attacks. They have like actually I can go show you in a second. They have like a random projectile, and then they like just a straight up projectile, and then they have like a projectile lob where they throw like a bigger stuff. But let's see if we have yeah, here. So let's just slap it in there. Except I don't have anyone with that yet, so I haven't done that. But yeah, so you get them from tunnel contracts. You can just, whenever you level up, you can come to the Rogue Harbor and check from Wakano if he's selling you. You can get them very early. You can actually start using these specters already at level 28. You just put like, well, I would recommend starting to use them at 31 because that's when you get access to Pinpoint, which I believe is bugged and is not supposed to work with them, but right now it does. And it's basically just a better GMP slash Crater Volley. Speaking of those, if this gets fixed or slash nerfed and it doesn't work anymore, I mean, it just cannot modify the skills of minions, so it shouldn't work. So once this gets removed, then you just put either GMP or Crater Volley. I personally prefer Crater Volley because it has a smaller, less multiplier on the damage. And it allows that attack, those that spawn those crystals, to overlap better on bosses. But yeah, so these are really cool guys. I really like playing with them. And then the other supports are just Spell Echo and Pierce. Now, some people are playing with them without Pierce. I personally feel like it. Maybe if I had 5 of the Spectres, or I had like some crazy zombies that would also instantly kill everything, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But because that's basically my only clear comes from these guys, I really want to use the Pierce on them. Yeah, and the name of the guys again, I'll desecrate them quickly on there so you can see. They are called Frost Auto Scouts. Crazy HP pool and just fun to play. And before anyone asks why am I not using, I guess, the current meta specters, which are the Syndicate operatives, is because they are just inconsistent in damage. When you have so much such an insane amount of damage that once they use, like one of them uses their overlapping attack, when it overlaps properly and it just melts everything down. But that's not something that you can very easily do in hardcore. So these guys are just much more consistent. They don't regard you to convocate them to a proper spot far enough from the target that you want to kill for the overlap to happen. And in the case of these guys going into melee range, they just keep doing what they do regardless, instead of doing melee attacks, which basically does nothing with the Syndicate guys. But yeah,